Darius Wright is a prolific out-of-body experiencer, explorer, respected teacher, philosopher, dedicated to unraveling the truth of the unseen realms and the other side through the out-of-body state. He's been practicing out-of-body experiences since childhood. He's had many encounters on the other side with beings of many different shades. We're talking extraterrestrials, angels, seraphim. And he is very much focused on the great work, which is to help people achieve mastery over their own out-of-body experience and to be able to travel through and experience the other side. Welcome, Darius, to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. I think this is a very cool opportunity because it helps bridge another area of a community, so that's important.
Yeah, it is. It is very important. And I think there is a lot of overlap between what you do and I do. But for people who don't know you, I'm sure a lot of my audience don't know anything about you. So why don't we just begin from the start in terms of when you first started having out-of-body experiences?
Yeah. So for everybody that knows me, they're going to know this. And I will try to keep this very brief and to the point. But essentially, I just do controlled out-of-body states. And this is no different from a near death. And to really drive what I'm doing home, the whole pursuit for a lot of people is to figure out truth, a level of truth, or the truth of who we are. And this is usually accomplished by seeing it, remembering it, or dying. And everybody has this information within them. And so when people die, they temporarily see that place, the place that they left. And this always sparks within them the heart again, the truth of who they are. They always come back changed. And from a young age at 16, you could say that's what happened to me. I had an experience and it changed my heart. It changed me back to me again. And all through these years, I've been searching, trying to do these consciously, just to figure out a truth of who we are, what the whole point of this is, and the point of creation too. And because in viewing this through outer bodies, I've been able to come to a solid foundation of what that is. And once spoken, it tends to change people and make them remember again, because it's like just that little flame that gets triggered again. And once they hear it, tends to bring them back to that state, back into the heart, back into love, back into searching for that, because that's the most important thing. Otherwise, I think a lot of the things that we do in the pursuit becomes a distraction if it's not for that. And so that's my story in a very brief nutshell. More of like the purpose behind it. But an out of body is just a controlled state. It's also a controlled state that the CIA has put over millions and millions of dollars into an operation to teach high-profiled individuals, or that are not necessarily in the limelight, but to target it for, you could say, more nefarious reasons of secret information, classified information, because they're able to take their soul physically out of their body to view it. And I've seen some of those things too. I've seen a lot of those things, from the pyramids, from, you could say, certain bases and stuff that I've seen in the whole, you could say, the world stage and how things play out, the way they play out. So there's that in there too. But the most important thing is the other side, because there's in the things that I've seen and the things that I've seen out of my body, it's very quick for me or somebody else to go into judgment of condemning other people for what I've seen, the tragedies that I've seen too. And it's been very, you could say, difficult to make sure, after all the things that I've seen, and also the other side, that I always remain in a constant state of integrity to the highest ability that I can in love. So that I hope that gets people the energy behind why, instead of just a story, Okay.
Yes, you're very curious as to what you learned about what the CIA is doing in this regard. I know about the Monroe Institute and Robert Monroe, and the CIA send a lot of people there. Actually, a lot of intelligence agents send people there to be trained in remote viewing, out-of-body experience. So, I mean, have you encountered some of these people in your own work in some way?
I have. So I've had it. I wouldn't say Monroe, but I have been contacted. You could say how they do a soft contact or whatever of asking to teach certain things. But I won't go there. I'd much rather leave this place in death before that happens, because my thing, Michael, is to help, you could say expose, but also bring light to the systems, the very systems that have enslaved people for so long. And by supporting those systems, no matter what they offer, is only supporting more enslavement to humanity. So instead, I choose, consciously always choose, to share it with people, because the more people that know of it, and it's not a just know the feeling of it again, the more people slowly start to step into their true power again. The only reason why we are in the state that we are today, the only reason is because people have lost the understanding of their true home or where they come from in love. And because of that's lost, they do everything here in a place of fear of, an attachment of, and you don't take anything with you here. You know, the car, none of it comes with you. And so it's all survival fear-based programming that they've set up here. And I don't really like to support like things like that. So, but yes.
Yeah. So what's the difference between an out-of-body experience and a near-death experience?
Okay, so then I guess I'll ask a question with a question to make it interesting. What do you feel the difference is?
Well, I'm kind of cheating because I watched you actually answer the question that an OBE is just a controlled NDE. But yeah, I think that's kind of like, that sounds accurate. I mean, that somehow you can train yourself to be able to have these out-of-body experiences that are very, very similar to what people who have reported the near-death experiences.
Yeah. So the reason why I did that is because it's for people that are listening too. Like if you try to ask that question to yourself, I think you'll come to the conclusion that when you die, your soul leaves. When you leave the body, the soul leaves. And this is where the confusion could happen with remote viewing without a body. Now, remote viewing is essentially where you're just projecting your awareness to a particular place. And so it's more of like intuition. You could see, yes, you could see things in remote viewing, but you're projecting your consciousness there instead. So viewing certain things, angles, etc. Maybe you write things down. It's been 100% proven that this is 100% valid. And like I said, thousands of dollars in the CIA to then prove these things as well has been done. But the difference between the remote viewing and out of body, near death, when you sort of you add those things up in that way, is when you come out of your body, and I've remote viewed before, but when you come out of your body, it's an amazing feeling, because you end up, for instance, I give this example a lot. The moment you come out, your soul is as physical as your physical body. So when you walk up to something and you touch it like this microphone, it feels as physical as if you're physically touching it. The thought forms, everything is physical. And so you're 100% physically there as your soul, conscious as if you're dead. And that's pretty much it. And this is something that for people as well too, and for your audience that's listening.
Yeah, maybe if you can
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to ask you to clarify. You mentioned the soul and how the soul is
Physical.
involved in the OBE and it's a physical experience. What's the difference between the soul and one's personality?
Yeah, okay, I'll do that too. But before I answer that, I want to say this, that the soul, this is a lot of people's fear. The fear is they end up losing a part of their self in a way. They end up losing a part of their physicality expressions. But the soul, when you die, when you leave here, is all of the pleasures of physical life with no limitations placed on you. Your soul is physical. It has touch. You could touch loved ones. You could interact with people that have passed away. I've interacted with more people than just my Uncle Bob that have passed away. That when you're able to experience that, there's a certain, it's very difficult to come back because you realize that this is your home. So no one is ever lost. No one is ever dead. They are all still there. And when you cross over and you touch them with your hands and they contact you and they hug you and you realize that feeling sensation is more real than the very hug that they've given you before they left here, that changes everything. It changes the game for everybody. The soul, so personality and soul. So there really isn't any difference between that in this way. So, and that may go against a lot of people's view on things, but then this is where I ask you a question, and your audience as well. Who do you think you were? Let's just go outside of all things, outside of this life, outside of heaven's constructs, to the beginning, before you were born in here. Who were you then? What was your personality? Who do you think you were before you came here and were born? Do you think when you were born in here, that same personality as you were a child was the same personality, the same essence, the core of your knowing before you were born? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I would kind of say the personality is something that is stamped on one at birth by the stars, but the soul essence, the qualities, like I think for me, when I came into this world, I think I had this overwhelming passion for truth and freedom. And that's something I carried from my last life and the lives before that. And I think in this life, being born on a particular date in a particular city, that a certain personality was stamped on me and then molded. But yeah, I mean, I would say my personality in this life is very different to the personality in my last life.
Yeah, well, absolutely, 100%. And this is where it goes into that. So every single soul here right now, and this is something that I've seen, I've experienced, stand in it with 100% truth. Who you are right now is the highest version of yourself here right now in forgetfulness of all of the other past experiences that you had throughout all creation. So the accumulation of you before you were born here was the accumulation of every single experience that you had before you made the decision to even come here. And that decision on the other side was the highest version of yourself. And in coming here, you have all of the personality traits of every single experience of why you do things, even though you're unconscious of it, why you act the way you act, even though you're unconscious of it or conscious of it, or the connections that you have and the abilities that you have in this life, all from the combining everything before you were born into this place. Now, when you're born here, then you are stamped with another personality just due to life and the experience. But then when you end up leaving here, you end up far greater, far more, you could say, a new version of yourself before you even came in, because you end up birthing a new version of yourself that could have never been birthed unless you experience certain things. And this is where it comes into just experience. And this is where it could also go into the new age lingo jingle nonsense. But what I'm saying is if you follow that through and you actually view it that way, is actually true. What would you say?
Well, yeah, my question there might be, okay, so, for people who die and become ghosts, and I know, that's something you've encountered. Now, what is it that a ghost is? I mean, is that just the dysfunctional part of a soul's personality that has to work things out before joining the rest of the soul in the white light or something?
Okay.
Unified.
So let me answer that, but then let me also give you some context too. So when you do cross over, you end up getting what people call higher self. You end up getting these things back into you. Do merge with your higher self, but the higher self is basically you're merging with all of the memories of your experiences back into you again. So when I've come in contact with what people call lost souls, here, seeing them, ghosts. And what this is when you have an out of body or you die, if you have a strong belief of something or grief of something, so the hell, you could say hell is experienced through grief of, because that emotion, even when you leave here, doesn't necessarily change, even though it's in your things are loving on the other side. But what you carry, that emotion, that attachment of, can make you what they call a lost wandering soul temporarily. So a lot of these souls are in a lot of, you could say some of them are in pain. And they stay here due to attachment of a loved one or etc., pain, grief of, regret. And this is even where you get in near-death experiences too, to even validate what I'm saying, where you have, let's just say, a mother that has passed away, and the daughter has a near-death experience and contacts that mother after many, many years of passing away. And that mother that has died goes to that daughter and says, "I'm so sorry for the things that I've done. I'm sorry." And then it's only when the forgiveness is there, then that mother finally could relieve herself of her own, you could say, lost, or not lost soul, but ghost-like, lost soul, wandering soul of grief of. So we still carry the grief, we still carry pain, we still carry regret when we're on the other side. But if you carry those very strong, it's a very heavy feeling, then you will become that, holding, waiting for forgiveness, typically from the people that you've caused harm to, until you could forgive yourself. And souls usually think that they're searching for forgiveness in the other person, but actually they are forgiving themselves, and they need that confirmation for that other individual to say, "I forgive you," for them to release themselves from that prison and hell that they're in temporarily. Does that make sense? Does that answer it?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So now I want to kind of get to an area that I find fascinating in terms of, you've talked about the dome Earth, and the question I have is, well, astronauts have described going out into space, seeing the whole blue marble Earth and all of that, and having, some like Edgar Mitchell said that they had a profound spiritual experience from seeing the blue Earth on the way back from the moon. So, but what did you see of the Earth when you traveled out there?
Okay, so this is where I don't want to step on anybody's toes in this community. So you could say, but all I could share is this: with those with a open heart and wanting to know, then I could tell you what I've experienced. I don't have anything other than that. Now, you go back to 16 years old, and also I'll give you, there's something as well too that I want to bring up. Did you hear the Trump announcement doing the dome over America?
Oh, yeah, the Golden Dome, yeah.
Yeah, Golden Dome. Okay, so I just thought that was probably funny to bring in. But When I go back to 16 years old, that one experience that I had with Celeste, you would classify that as a near death. So showing the vast array of constructs of what I would call planets at the time. And I saw all those being shown, all those, how time worked. Now I realize that a lot of things now through many experiences. But when I talk about a dome, I'm talking about that this place is a enclosed system. And you know, I'm coming from a place of, in belief of, 100% knowing of, backing of. But I'll just say that it is an enclosed system based off what I've seen. And then when you come out of here and you see the construct for what it is it a ball? Yeah, it's a ball, but it's an enclosed system. This is where you go into biblical references too of the enclosed system. And I don't want to flag this video on YouTube. If it's posted on Rumble, maybe it would be good, but on YouTube, they'll just throw it up.
It'll be posted on both Rumble, YouTube,
Yeah, okay.
Spotify, Patreon.
Yeah. But I've seen an enclosed system. That's what I was shown. I was showing it in the Halls of Amenti. I was showing it many, many times. And in disbelief, that's when I started searching. What is the enclosed system? What is the dome? And that's when I started to get information, target it again, see it again. You see, back in the history too, we go back into history, back into the past. This whole place that we live on now, this whole realm, this whole heaven, this whole earth, was all one temperate climate. It was all one climate, very warm, very tropical. And this was because there was actually more carbon in the atmosphere. What are they saying the issue is now? Carbon. So there's more carbon in the atmosphere, which there's a larger water canopy, allowing for this environment to be all one temperature. This is where you get all of the beings in that past, the races, the giants, what people call Anunnaki, celestial beings, yeah, galactic races, all here in that time. Through, you could say, coming down through their other realms, their other dimensions. I know your community's familiar with the words dimensions, so coming down from higher dimensions here, phasing in and out. I just call them heavens, realms, phasing in and out, but they were all here at some point. Every single one of them, yeah.
Well, that's actually a big debate within the kind of like whole ufology movement. Yes, many people assume or believe that extraterrestrials get here using warp drive, spacecraft, and they travel interstellar spaces to get here. But others, and the kind of whole Jacques Vallée thing where they say that they get here through different dimensions, that we're talking about interdimensional travelers. So it seems like what you're saying is that the extraterrestrials that are here and in our history, they got here through dimensionally traveling from these different dimensions or heavens, as you call it.
Yes, yeah. In that point in time, all of these, let's just say dimensions or stargates, portals, heavens, all of it was open at once, at a period of time. So travel to these places, travels to the heavens, travels to within the kingdoms, within the stars, was open to every person that was here at that time. And this is where you get part of, like, you look around here, there's what do they call them? I believe it's let me actually look up the right word for this. They call them messes. You familiar with that word?
No.
Okay, so a mesa, well, I would typically call them but if I just say giant mountains, that's not actually, because you could find giant mountains that are actually mountains. But the mountains, you ever see the pictures where the mountains look like chopped down trees or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So they call them messes, but so messes, that terminology there, if you look up that, then you actually see more alignment to what I'm talking about. But even at that time, even those giant trees were here. So even we didn't have the oceans that we have today. This is where you get all the land masses, Lemuria, Atlantis, all sinking. And even though they're still, Atlantis is in a certain place, still located in a certain area. But when all those giant trees were here, they sucked up water. So a lot of the land masses were exposed at that point, and there was a lot more land here. Antarctica was not ice; it's all land. That's where you even have a lot of the red hair beings that are still frozen in Antarctica. Some of the pyramids there, some of the original angels still frozen there.
Do you know anything about that? Because that's actually, I know in the Book of Enoch they talk about the fallen angels after the war in the heavens were imprisoned in a southern land that with 24 hours of sunshine, and of course that's Antarctica during the summer. So do you know anything about the imprisoned giants?
Yeah, that's interesting that the Book of Enoch even wrote that, because I can't, for people listening to this, I don't read. I can't necessarily read. I need to hear things, because when I read words, they flip on me backwards. So I'll end up reading something that says something completely different from what I'm reading. But that's interesting. So the Book of Enoch said the angels were. Did it bring up anything with frozen?
Yeah. It was someone did a study on it, and in the Book of Enoch described the process where the fallen angels, after they were defeated, were imprisoned in this location in a land in the south where there was eternal sunlight, and that's
yeah. Okay, so well, that's what I have seen.
Wow.
So I find that very, I wouldn't say imprisoned, but I find that very interesting. And this is what I was telling you before. A lot of the things that I've seen, when I look up biblical references and I'm like, is this true? And then I look up and it's like biblical references. I'm like, why? From someone that's not religious. I'm like, what? So in knowing what religion is, in some of the books, the original books and tablets and the codexes, I'm like, so why is what I'm seeing so in alignment, other than a lot of the fear-based narratives to imprison your soul? But why are they so there? And you could say because of the very controlling people, truth is always shown to you, but then they distort that truth in a way to imprison you as well. But yeah, I've seen frozen in Antarctica. I've seen angels still fully attached, full wings, everything, in stasis, frozen.
Wow.
That's what I've seen. I've seen there's beings there as well that I've seen that are still frozen inside certain places of there that have like this, it's like long red hair. You could say the same size as us, maybe a little bit bigger, like 5 foot up to 7 foot tall, in that range. But they're just red hair, pure white, just long red hair. And so they're not the red hair giants, because I've seen those too. And you could say part of a military thing that happened years ago where they shot a red-haired giant before. I don't know, people know what that is. But yeah, this is where it even validates stuff that you're saying as well, where all of these races were here, even the angels. Angels have come down from the seventh heaven, from what I've seen. So the seventh heaven, the seventh realm, or the seventh dimension of what your community would understand it to be, is where the angels reside. That is their dimension, their heaven, in the seventh. And what I've seen is some angels have come down through the Garden of Eden, which is considered the fourth heaven or the fourth dimension for your people, which is symbolic to the seven sisters, into the earthly heaven. And this is where you get a lot of those races coming in here, part of that, what is considered a fall. But I would say those are where you're seeing a lot of the frozen bodies, because they even have technology there too, to project their consciousness into different bodies, even into physical form. So, yeah, you're looking into pyramids, med beds in order to project consciousnesses or soul consciousness from one form of body to another body. They've even shown that in Avatar, the movie. A lot of people think these are just movies, but it's like truth in plain sight. Yeah.
Okay, so that's interesting. So whether we're talking about the angelic dimension or other dimensions, that there can be avatar bodies here in our dimension, and whenever they want to, they can transport their consciousness into that avatar body. Is that what you're saying, from the different dimensions?
Well, that's a good question. Haven't. I would say so. I would say so. I like to just typically speak on things that I've seen, but I would say so. But what I've seen is here, specifically here, this Earth, that was done. But doing it from higher realms, I mean, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I could say so. Yeah, okay.
What about the Anunnaki? I mean, there's a lot of interest in them and their return. What do you know about them?
That's I know that that's part of what's considered the because I've seen them in layers. That's part of the third heaven, the Anunnaki beings. And so yeah, those are all the beings that have built the pyramids. See, the pyramids too. What I've seen with them is all that technology. People will call it like fallen technology and stuff, but they've actually encoded a lot of their information inside of tablets. And now when people look for that information in tablets, like books where they're trying to read the book, it's actually not encoded there. It's actually encoded within the physical tablets or stone, which is actually, I'll actually reference this for you so people can look at it too. This is actually a scientific study. It's called I'm looking at it right now. It's called the 5D optical storage. It's in a quartz. It's at the University of South Tampa. So they were able to take a 12 centimeter disc and put over 360 terabytes of information within that, of data, just within a quartz or like crystal type of disc. They were able to do that. And so a lot of the technology within these pyramids, when you're trying to search for them, they're actually encoded within the very stones and crystals themselves. Thousands and thousands, if not trillions, of terabytes of information that they've used to put there that could be extracted with even modern day technology, because modern day technology, they have it to put that information even within that with a scientific experiment that I just referenced. So all of these paintings, or not paintings, carvings, some of them are data points. And even the recent finding, which I find quite interesting because we're talking about Anunnaki, those pyramids that were built all around Halls of Amenti, the pyramids of in Middle East. Let me just change something real quick. Sorry about this.
Okay.
They're just sometimes my computer flashes with timers and stuff. But there was I remember getting access down into the Halls of Amenti, and this was years and years ago, where I was shown the tunnel systems of how deep it goes, and I actually drew something. We see pyramids here, but really underneath there, I was seeing more like there as you go down. And it had all of these tablets, sections, areas that you could go. And you could touch a tablet. You could touch a book, which looked like a book, in your soul form. And all that information would start to come within you. It'd be like seeing movie trailers of information, of that certain information that's encoded within that tablet. And now I understand through researching what I've seen, is this true? Is anywhere in this place they have done experiments? And it's 100% valid that they could do that scientifically here now. And so now the recent findings too, with the pyramids, that they go deep, deep down through the same technology that they use to map out the oceans. Now they're finding exactly what I've seen. Out of body. So this is where we go into classified information too. Classified information of how the CIA pumps millions and millions of dollars into teaching people how to do this, to find this information. And then they put it on hush hush. Don't say anything. Too much exposure wakes up too many people. You wake up too many people, guess what? They're free. They even have patents, by the way, too. Things that I've seen, like the Stargate portals, which are in the pyramids. Think about the pyramids operated as many things, but also as an airport to this entire plane that we're on, this entire realm that we're on, acted as like an airport. You go in here, transport yourself there, all through frequencies. So, yeah.
Yeah. I've come across that underneath Giza plateau, there's portals and a Hall of Records, and you mentioned the Halls of Amenti.
Yes.
So beings come and go out of that.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious, when you're in the out-of-body experience and you meet one of these beings, whether it's an Anunnaki or say another type of extraterrestrial, I mean, do they see you? Do you have an interaction? Do you have a communication?
So when I'm out of my body, yeah. So if I'm actually seeing them, and they're showing me things. Sometimes when I'm out of body too, it's like I'm viewing a past time event, seeing things in the past, and I'm seeing people walk around, and they can't interact with me, as if I'm seeing that scene of events taking place. And this is no different from me seeing like some future time events that I've seen for myself. It's like the same thing. But yeah, majority of the time it's an interaction. It's in some of these interactions at first, it's very, very hard for me, very difficult, because there's a lot of fear, panic of. But yeah, to answer it in short.
What are they like? I mean, are they surprised when they see you in the outer body experience? Because I assume that they're so used to interacting with humans in this kind of dimension who are in a physical form, and now all of a sudden someone comes up to them with some kind of psychic ability that is maybe more advanced than theirs or similar to theirs.
Well, a lot of these races anyways are very, very attuned to contact and speaking, because they're what you would say multidimensional in and of themselves. They have that technology already within them as well. Some is technology that is made, but they understand that. And so it's not necessarily based off what I've experienced. There's only one time that I had an experience with a race of beings where it was more of shock, and I realized what that shock was. It was, I wear a watch that monitors my heart rate. And when I'm doing this, for people that want to learn how to do this, it's very important to try to lower the heart rate as much as you can, because you're basically mimicking that in your death, in a sense. You're getting your brain to a certain state and lowering the magnetic field of the physical body. So there's certain points where I've measured my heart rate at 29 beats per minute, sometimes even lower, by doing this. And so I already have a low heart rate anyways. You could say maybe that's from my past training or stuff that I used to do, like fit and stuff. But I'm able to bring that very, very low. If it takes time, but I'm able to bring it very, very low. And there was an experience that I had where I'm coming out of my body in my bed, I'm accessing time. And you could say this is where I've never really shared this one before, but this is also where I've come in contact, which is like, I call them the black elves or whatever, or the black elves, which are very symbolic to time. And I was the first time that I was seeing time. And they just presented themselves to me pure black. You could see all the stars, like, pins of light all through their body. And then I was viewing a time event. As I'm coming back to my body, fast forward, I'm mixing two things together really. But as I'm coming back to my body, I had an experience where beings were looking at me. And when these beings were looking at me, they were in my room as I'm returning back to my body. And they're looking at my physical body, and I look at them looking at my physical body and looking at me and my soul. Almost, they weren't speaking, but I was able to feel the telepathy that was going on, almost in shock and disbelief of how are you doing this to such a degree without killing your body? And through measuring the heart rate and stuff like that, I could see why. Because you see, even Buddhist monks could train themselves to lower the heart rate to this degree, but it's kind of rare. And I'm not saying this as if it's, it's only me that could do it, because there's already many, many people that I've taught to do this as well. So yeah, all of these races they communicate with you telepathically. They could also see more of that light spectrum. That's including you, the soul. Because right now, our physical bodies, we think, how is that possible that they could see the soul? They could see you out of your body? Because we're operating from a very limited lens. And this lens could see 0.1% of that light spectrum. And because that's all we could see, we don't see some of the beings that are right in front of us in our daily life. Some of the things that you hear, you sense, you feel. Or if someone has passed away and they come into your space, you can't necessarily feel them or see them, but you could feel them. And so you could say this is what the contact is. Their DNA, their bodies are just more open to more of that light spectrum to see. And pretty much what it is. And the thing is, our bodies have that very DNA within it. Right now, we are only operating on 2 strands. Scientifically, only operating on 2 strands. But we have 13. Just so happens to be within this creation, this construct, this specific thing, what people call the universe, there are 13 heavens, 13 realms, or what people would call 13 dimensions within here. And we have 13, the 13 DNA strand within us. We even have the whole dimensions that have been layered within the brain, that have been observed. I think they've observed maybe 12 or more, maybe 13 as well, I'm not sure. But when these are fully aligned, then even the physical body has the ability to access all light itself within here. And this is why you can say the great attack on the pineal gland too. And some people, in even near-death experiences or even out-of-body experiences, you'll find they come back and some of these DNA things are reactivated again. Like abilities, intuition, things like that become off the charts. That's only possible if certain things are being activated again. So I hope that gives sense of seeing and what the, yeah, okay.
Okay, yeah, that helps. So with these 12 or 13 dimensions or different realms, and you mentioned some of them already, the Anunnaki, the angels, the seraphim, in order to be able to travel to those, now you mentioned 12-strand DNA. Is there a correspondence? Is this, I mean, to be able to travel through all those dimensions, is that how you do it? Have kind of full 12 DNA strand activation?
Okay. So to travel to these places, the soul can do it based off its own will, because the thing is, the body right now, even if nothing is turned on with the body, the body's just going to be a crippled computer pretty much. But the soul can never be crippled or limited when you realize who you are. And this is where you go back into the beginning of this interview, where I was talking about the importance of the soul when we realize who we are, because the moment you realize that your soul is the ultimate authority, just like every other soul, then once you're out and you understand that, there's not one damn thing that can limit you unless you believe it to be so. Your soul has access to all of it, every single bit of it. Because to say otherwise would say that your soul is not of the same spark and divinity that creates all things, and that's not true. Yeah, but it's the physical body. If the physical body was operating at its perfected state, fashion and purity as it once was, and it still is fashion and purity, but if it was 100% at that state, then we would be able to take the physical bodies with us and even see these things all around us. We would be able to see thought forms as physicality. We would be able to see all of that light spectrum that is not visible to us now. We would be able to do the same thing as what they do in the races as well. The ships, galactics, the seraphims, the angels, where they're able to phase their physicality into certain frequencies to match a certain frequency where they appear physical to us. The physical bodies are capable of that, because even when you look at the very cells within the physical body, they are not matter. They're empty space. Everything that we touch is not physical. It's all empty space. The materials within everything that we touch, cells, all empty space. Even when you are standing on the floor You aren't even touching the floor. There's a repulsion effect that's taking place. The magnetic field within you versus the magnetic field of the floor that you touch, there's a repulsion effect that's taking place, meaning you are even levitating on the very surface that you walk on. So shifting through that frequency, if the body was fully aligned, then yeah, you would be able to shift through certain frequencies, appear, disappear, etc.
Is that something we ought to be aiming for? I mean, because it sounds very similar to what people have been talking about in terms of ascension, ascending from a 3rd-D reality, a 5th-D reality, and taking our body with us as opposed to, dying and being born in the 5th. Is that something that's desirable? Something that we can achieve with what you're doing?
So can it be achieved? And I don't ever like to overpromise things or put people in a place of saying something without context. So I'm going to say this first. 100% yes, it's achievable within the physical body, but I am not doing it. But what I am doing is I am doing the out of body to acquire information of the information that I'm sharing. So without overpromising or without putting statements out there that you know what I'm trying to say. But can the physical bodies do this? Could the physical bodies, in essence, ascend to that level? 100%. It was done in the past. And this is why there's such an attack on the physical body health. There's such an attack with the things that they spray in the sky, things that they put in the food, all to the pure purpose is to try to distort the physical body as much as it can. Because when the body's not distorted at the level that they've done, then your full soul will fully fuses with the physical body, where you're able to do within this construct and see things and have supernatural abilities that would only free humanity. The patents to walk through walls by the CIA, you seen that new one? How they were training people how to walk through walls? It's a patent that's released.
Oh, wow. Okay. I haven't seen the patent, but I know theoretically it's possible.
Yeah. So, it's possible. It's possible to do. But I would say the most important thing is just first realizing who we are. Because then that even opens up the possibility of that to be questioned or to have a question like that with you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, my wife, Angelica, she's a big fan of yours. And so she gave me a question that she's interested in. So are all the people who consider themselves starseeds simply remembering roles they played as extraterrestrials in previous cycles of this construct where they had access to all of their memories? If so, is this the reason so many want to reconnect with their star families?
Okay. So I know the word starseed, but I'm not familiar with the context behind it. But based off what you're saying, based off what you just said, yeah, I would say yes. So their souls, let's just say lineage, family, come in here with knowledge from the past experiences. And many of them come in here, when they come in here with a collective amount of souls for a mission.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say yes, based off the limited information that I have with the whole definition of what people call starseeds to be.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I know it would be a lot of people believe that they're star seeds from the Pleiades star system, which is, according to the scientific worldview, is like 440 light years away. But in terms of what you have experienced, is that really correct, or are they remembering life in another dimension where maybe in that life they experienced a realm where they called it the Pleiades?
Okay. All right. So I would still say yes to that. I would still say yes. So What would be happening there is, let's just say, the galactic races, the second heaven. So you would have a collection of souls that choose to come in here to do a particular set of a mission. And with that, they hold a certain template of frequency. So I would say yes to that. I won't necessarily agree with or say yes to a lot of the other things, but I would say specifically to just that connection, yes. Yes, 100%. Yeah.
Okay. Well, another question is reincarnation and soul traps. I mean, people are wanting to know. Well, some people say, well, when you leave the body at death, don't go into the white light. That's the soul trap. Turn around and kind of like, go into the stars, and that's freedom. That's liberation. So what's your take on that?
Okay, so what I'm going to say with this is I'm not necessarily going to answer the question with the white light directly, and you'll see why. Because the question, I'm going to answer the question at its core, which the question at its core is based on fear of. And fear of, when you're talking about the soul, any question related to fear of the soul is a lack of understanding of who the soul is to begin with. Because once you understand who the soul is to begin with, then you realize that there is not one thing to fear, because not one thing could entrap or imprison the soul unless you believe it to be so. And when you believe it to be so, then you take your soul will at its highest authority, its highest state of divinity, fashion and purity at the highest state, and you lower yourself to that fear-based frequency to even be imprisoned within that fear to begin with. It's the same thing that happened to me. So nothing related to when you leave this place, when you leave the body, when you die, there is not one thing that you should ever fear. Not one thing. Because you as a soul is an eternal being. You are limitless unless you put that limit on you. And this is where you get those souls that are lost souls, because they have such a deeply ingrained fear of something happening to their soul, where they create their own prison temporarily. But when the soul realizes who it really is, not one thing could touch you. Let's even go religiously into this as well. And I know your crowd isn't religious, but I'm just to give context to what I'm saying. Let's pretend for a moment that there's an all-powerful God that exists. All authority God, all unconditional loving God that is actually out there, and he is in that state. So do you believe for a moment that being is touchable in any form of entrapment? A lot of people would say no, but that very being is that spark is within every single one of you. So that means you hold that same capacity. You hold the very spark of creation within you. So it's, I hope that helps with context.
Okay, well, that is a very important point there, that we hold that part of that Godhead or infinite creator, whatever you want to call it, that we hold that within us. And people have talked about an infinity point inside of us, like in the heart center, there is an infinity point. That's the heart that's where the soul resides. So how does that work in terms of the chakra system? Because I know you've talked about the chakra system, that correlates with the kind of the different dimensions or the different heavens. So how does all that work? Okay.
So I do want to say this too. There's two ways to answer this. Everything with the physical body in this construct is mirrored. So the physical body is mirrored off the construct design. Construct design is mirrored off the as above, so below, as within, so without. So let's just go with the chakra system for a moment. We're just going to play with that. So we have, I think of what they say. We have 7 apparently, just like 7 of them. And so when you look into the chakra system, they say we have 7 top ones here. And then above that, we have So funny that you brought this up because I actually wrote this down. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 more above the 7th, what actually comes to the 12. You've seen that information before? Yeah.
Yeah, I've come across that before.
Yeah. So then we have total of 12. So if we're playing with chakra, then we have 12 chakras within the very core of us, all the way up. Just so happens to be that there's 12, 13 dimensions, heavens here. So the chakra system, you could say, is a way to learn how to, at the basic sense, funnel energy. Pretty much. But I don't really like to focus on chakras because the chakra systems in and of themselves, you could say, is a distraction because you limit yourself to a particular point within the physical body, and the soul's already unlimited. So I would say there's only one true spark, one true source, and it just so happens to be right there.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just leave that there. But to answer your question with the context and everything, okay.
So how does the soul leave the body? Does it go through a particular chakra? Like, does it come through the heart chakra? Does it come through the crown chakra? I've seen that. Or does it somehow just come out of this infinity point? Yeah,
so every single time when I come out, sometimes I get, feels like I'm sinking, but I wouldn't say it's through one singular point that you get pulled out, because sometimes when you're coming out, it just feels like you're physically sitting up. Like you physically sit up. And then when you're sitting up, there's temporarily, unless you're in the know, it doesn't even feel like you even came out of your body. It feels like you're still in your body until you look back and see that you're still on the bed. And that's why I said it's no different from a near death, because when people die or near death experiences, they have that same experience. They either float up or they sit up, and they don't even realize what happened most of the time. They're like, wait, and it's not until they see themselves in the physical body that's dead. They're like, oh my God, I'm out of my body. I'm dead. So that's how I come out. That's how I've come out all the time. So
Yeah, I know Robert Monroe described a very similar process for how he got out of the body, just rolling out, sitting up, and he had different names for it. Well, I know you need to go pretty soon, so I wanted to ask you one last question to just kind of wrap it up. So why don't you tell us about the great work? What is that, and why is that so important to you?
So it's that is important to me for this reason. When leaving my body in near-death experiences, people have a choice, even in the out-of-body state, whether if they still want to be here or not. You know, many people could be my witness to this too. I've stated to some people, you know, if I leave my body and so I don't come back, just know, don't cry or whatever. And I'm not saying that as like, you know, I'm suicidal or anything like that, because I'm not suicidal. I think I need to make that clear. Even on a public interview, I, Darius J Wright, am not suicidal, just in case something were to happen. But I have stated those things just to people because the choice is always there. And so when coming out of my body, it was my Uncle Bob, particularly him, that showed me with other beings. I said, so what's the whole point of this? Like, otherwise I don't want to come back. He said, it's the great work. He said, a group of souls are doing the great work, which is waking people up to the other side. And when I came back to that, back here, I asked myself, okay, what's the best way to wake people up to the other side? What's the best way to truly spark something again, to make them realize that it's 100% your soul, your home is never here, it's there. That's your true state. And since 16, actually, I've been doing, people think I'm new on the scene, but since 16, behind the scenes on other platforms, things that are probably deleted already, I've been trying to spread information from that one experience from 16. But it wasn't until I made an agreement to do this that I've just had this massive amount of support from the other side of spreading it. I've had beings trying to guide me as well, to push this forward. And I'm a very private person. To be doing stuff like this, if you were to tell me I would be doing stuff like this, not in a million years, I wouldn't think so. I would much like privacy. But once you wake somebody up to that, they wake up to absolutely everything. Once you wake somebody up to their true home, they wake up to everything. Everything fades away from the nonsense, the fear, and it becomes the greatest pursuit for humanity, because we could say, okay, we need to free humanity from money, and money is an enslavement system. People need freedom from that as well. We need to free people from the chronic health crisis based off what they're doing. Yeah, that's a version of freedom. But if you purely search for freedom within the physical flesh, you will still forever be enslaved. Because the true state of freedom will only manifest itself within you when you realize who you are. And when you realize that, then you become a beacon from the other side in its ultimate authority, not even afraid of death itself. And if you're not afraid of that, then who has a chance, or what chances are there to try to have dominion over you? Us. There is none. And in the beginning of it, I just thought, yeah, it's just a spreading of the other side. But when I realized the true power of it, right now, Michael, if you ever had a near-death experience or something happened in your life where you automatically come out of your body and you realize you're in your physical soul, at that very moment, everything changes for you, even though you already know it. You already have the belief of, but when you feel that state of who you actually are while you're still here, good luck touching you at that point, good luck. Yeah, that's the reason. That's the reason why I'm doing it. That's the reason why I'm so motivated. And I'll be doing this until I leave this place, pretty much.
Yeah. And that, I think, is so important. I mean, I really support that. I think, when it comes to my field, extraterrestrial life and so forth, so many people want to give their power away to the extraterrestrials. They're smarter, faster, more powerful than us. And it's like but no, we have within us everything that you've been saying. So I think the great work, what you're doing, is so important. So I know your website is dariusjwright.com. So can you just tell people what they can expect if they go to your website?
Okay, so the only thing that I you could say I promote is that very mission. That's it. So you could say by this point in time, in how many people I've reached so far, that I could be selling T-shirts, I could be selling this. I don't do those. It's purely towards the mission. That's it. Do I teach people how to do this? Yes. But it's only the focus of the purpose of the mission of waking people up, giving them the tool of just how to experience this themselves. Because once they have that, then go off and become a part of that. Spread it, share what you've experienced, share the knowledge. Because the more people that do that, they become these flames that it becomes unstoppable. And you could say now it's gotten to that point in a sense, because now you're getting a vast amount of people that are waking up to things, and that's great. It's not necessarily to divide or conquer, it's to bridge connections again. That's all it's about.
Right. Well, I want to thank you, Darius, for coming on Exopolitics today.
Yeah, okay. Cheers, man.
Cheers.
You have been listening to Exopolitics Today with Dr. Michael Salla. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Join or start a conversation in the comments. Take the time to explore the vast library of best-selling books, webinars, and podcasts by Dr. Salla. Visit exopoliticstoday.com.